All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. We're back doing more of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We are doing Season 1, Episode 3. It is called The Asset. So, full spoilers if you have not seen this episode. Another great episode, I think. Another good start to this beginning of the show. Lots going on, and I didn't realize, and I forgot at the time, that gravitonium was like this early, and like how long, like talk about something paying off way down the road. You know, we get gravitonium in episode 3, and then way down the line we get graviton, which is crazy. I love this beginning with the invisible power that's knocking the cars all over the place. Even though you know it's a CGI effect for most of this stuff, it's still pretty cool. And knowing that they're doing something from the graviton stuff, that this is the beginning of it, and not just like we got this new element that we get to talk about on the show, and it's not like the biggest like story in the comics. Like Graviton is not a I haven't read anything about Graviton in quite a while, so it's kind of cool that this show was picking some of these stories that haven't been told or talked about in a while. We're also introduced to Ian Quinn here. I don't know the actor's name who plays him, but he's really good. He's basically a James Bond villain. I mean, he's like in international area where there's no like extradition in Malta, and he's got a place that literally he says, oh well, hey, it came with these underground facilities. I mean, he's a James Bond villain. He's got the big mansion on top and the secret laboratory underneath, and but he thinks again, kind of what's cool about him, and how kind of James Bond villains are a lot of times. They got personality, and I mean, this guy really thinks. I think maybe he's deluding himself that he's helping the world. I think it's really just he uses that as an excuse for his ego and things like that, or making excuses for things that he does. But I really like Ian Quinn. He's an interesting villain. I think I remember at the time just being like, whatever, stock villain. But I think he's pretty good, and I like what they do with him, and he sticks around for a little while, and I think even his arc pays off like way later too. But in this whole thing where they take it, at first I thought they were bad guys in the truck, like the semi driver. I thought he was going to be a bad guy. I love how he has the screen, the Stark type screen in front of him. That was really cool, because this guy just looks like rough. I mean, he looks like 20 miles of bad road. I guess his cover must be trucker or whatever, but yeah, it's that whole thing. Like, I expected them to be the bad guys, and no, they were S.H.I.E.L.D. They were the ones protecting this guy, and they're the ones who got hit. And Quinn's the one who takes Hall. And I do believe Hall could be the original Graviton. I don't remember specifically, but I think that might be accurate. I should have looked it up before I did this video, but it's a small detail, and I'm not going to get hung up on it. But I like how, he starts out with Hall just being like, well, you took me prisoner, and then quickly, finding out that this guy's going to get shown everything that he's always wanted with this element. And then, like later on, we get even more development that makes Hall's character even more interesting. Like there's like twists in this episode that I really liked, and they're playing against the cliche in this episode, where things that you usually would say, like, oh, the doctor's gonna switch sides, you know what I mean? And then so they make you think that he's like decided to switch sides, and then they do something else with it. And then you got Ian Quinn, who's just basically supposed to be like you're just regular straight up villain, but turns out like he's kind of like, I don't know, he feels like he's the hero kind of character, which is interesting and a different kind of take on the villains. We get a lot of Skye in this. She's really funny. They give her some really funny lines, and she delivers them really good. I love her chemistry with Ward. And Ward, man, I really like him, and it really just is such a, it's gonna hurt that much more when we get like further on in this season, where it just all of a sudden that gets flipped on its head, because I'm enjoying him. He is a charismatic, cool guy, and I just knowing what you know, like going into this. I mean, I'm trying to talk about this as if somebody that's never watched this show before is watching these reviews for the first time or something. So I'm trying not to spoil everything that I already know is coming, but it's just I'm enjoying Ward right now while it lasts. This is also the episode where May finally decides that she can't just sit back and watch, the untrained people go out and fight these things. And, I'm sure that was Coulson's game all along, was that she's going to see what needs to be done, and she's not going to be able to be, sitting on the sidelines. She wouldn't be able to live with herself, that kind of thing. But with more of the Sky stuff, I really dig like the way that they tick Chloe Bennett here early. I feel like maybe it's not till season 2 that I got really frustrated with her, because it just came her part just kind of seemed just too whiny and too, we can't do it like that, we got to do it like this. And she is kind of like this in this episode, the whole where she figures out how to get an Evite by taking, hacking back channels, because everybody can just hack magically. And that whole kind of like attitude and tone of like, look at what I did, old man, like there's some of that in here, but it's still just kind of charming in a way. I still don't know what the hell she was doing with who is she dating, Logan or Jake Paul? I mean, I'm like, man, okay, I guess, just because the actors seem smart in the show doesn't mean they're smart in real life. But I don't know. But what else do we have in this episode? Well, we get some cool like infiltration stuff. So like Sky goes in to infiltrate Quinn's place because she's not S.H.I.E.L.D. But I love the way that Quinn, kind of like a James Bond villain, already knows all this. Like they know she's coming, kind of like in Casino Royale, where Lashif already knew about James, that he was going to be there, and that he's MI6 and all this stuff. And I like that there's that kind of like where you just both acknowledge each other. Like the villain and the hero kind of acknowledge each other, playing this little game of cat and mouse, like who's going to be the first one to break on this lie, or who's going to know that the other one is lying, kind of thing. I love that kind of stuff, and they do it really well here. Although, I mean, Ian Quinn catching Sky acting very shady and then just kind of talking her way out of it is pretty bullshit. I mean, it looked like the guy had already made up his mind that he knew that this was all bunk. And as he's saying security, she just, says some stupid little thing. And it's like, no, any regular person would have just been like, that's great. Security, I'm serious. Like, she'd have been taken away. But that's TV. Coulson in this, always again, just has so many great dry lines. Everything is just so like if Stephen Wright sometimes was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in a way. A lot of these deliveries I just love, just so matter of fact and unassuming, and kind of like Cap in a way, the way he talks. There's this like earnestness with a little bit of playfulness and sarcasm underneath. I don't know, it's pretty cool. I love that stuff. Trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. Well, we already know what happens to Hall here. That scene where the gravity is changing in that room, and I know it's like stupid little tricks that they use, but it still looked really cool that you wouldn't know that they were just kind of rotating things around and moving props and all that stuff. But it was a really cool thing that them just kind of flopping around in that room with everything going haywire. And you do understand what Hall's trying to do. Like he was playing Quinn. He knew that Quinn, if he just could figure out how to get to Quinn, he could take this thing out himself, even though it's going to hurt some people. He knew that he'd be saving millions of lives, probably the whole world in some, situation. And that he's going to sacrifice everybody there, including himself, to stop Quinn from getting his hands on the gravitonium so he can't exploit it. And then Phil, in answer to that, well, thanks for that. I understand what you're doing. Now I've got to make you're making a hard choice, and now I've got to make my hard choice. And it's just cool that Coulson's like, well, you want to sacrifice yourself. Well, here's your shot, and shoots the floor and sends Hall into the gravitonium. And that is fucking like ballsy, man. Like that is hardcore shit. He just like sent that dude like, well, you got me no choice, and sends this guy to God knows what. Because you think maybe he's dead, but what if he's not? You know, like what did you just put that guy through? You're like, I mean, yes, again, the ends justify the means in this. You know, you're saving even more than just the millions. You're saving the people in this room, and this guy wasn't giving you a choice. And so Phil took that way out. Although he could have just said, "Hey, why don't you just go in there and jump in?" But that'll stop it because it does. So anyway, Skye seems to be committed to, you know, everything in this. She does act like, you know, I'm going to be with S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm going to try at this. She's punching a little bit harder than earlier. And just that connection with Ward and everything. Oh, when she flips the gun on Quinn, that was really cool because he's like, he says what Ward says, you know, like, hey, do you have the heart to, you know, can you pull the trigger? I love she's just like, nope, and just drops the gun and dips out. So, you know what? Another good episode. Solid. I can't wait to keep going. In fact, I'm probably going to do another one before the end of the night. So I'll probably have episode 4 up here in a little bit. So anyway, if you like this review of The Asset, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think of how I'm doing on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and if you even care. Because I know I'm just kind of doing this in the spur of the moment. But again, it just sounds like something fun to do. So anyway, this is Robert Smirking Interview saying we'll be back with another video later. Otherwise, we've got Walking Dead this weekend, if it's good enough to review. And as usual, we got Deadly Class on Wednesdays. MCU reviews in between all that, and we'll have more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then later on next month, we've got Game of Thrones, and we got American Gods, and God, there's just so much shit. So anyway, have a great night, and we will see you next time.